Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation. Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Sports Scope on this 17th day of December. We're roughly a week away from Christmas here. Got a great show with you on for tonight. Got some announcements to make about the upcoming guest this week and a guest coming up next month. Very good guest there coming up next month as well. Tonight, going to talk about Will Levis. Looks like he's been benched. He may have played his last down in Tennessee, but I'm not sure about that. I noticed he's going to be benched this week. Got a few suggestions for the Titans looking forward or some potential ideas. Bills, what do we learn from a possible Super Bowl, potential Super Bowl matchup between the Bills and the Lions? What do we learn from that? Same thing with the Eagles. Ravens look good. Got a lot to talk about tonight, as you can see. Got a whole full list. I got the NFL Power 5. Going to go over that. Had to adjust that. After looking at some injuries, I actually had to adjust. I have a new number one there, obviously. But stand by. We'll take our first and only break. I'll be back here momentarily. We'll hit the ground running here on the Real Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to Sports, that is Sports with an S, another S, Scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program.
I'm Mac, CEO of National Streaming Sports and host of the Mac and Jack Sports Show. You're watching the sharp-dressed man and the big story breaker, Robert Butler, on Sports Scope, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern on National Streaming Sports.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America.
All righty, then. I'm back here live. So tomorrow, I haven't confirmed it, but he said go ahead and remind him. I'm pretty sure he'll be here. Keith Engel will be back on the program. I'm going to ask Keith about the Patriots last Sunday's game. What does he think about it? It looked like they were ill-prepared. But I tell you what, that Drake May looks good, man. I tell you, that guy looks like a hit so far at the quarterback position. Just not sure about that coaching staff. Going to talk to Keith Engel and get Keith's predictions on this weekend's college football first ever playoff game with a 12-team format. Cannot wait. Thursday, Kevin Carroll will be back on the program. Going to talk Tennessee, Ohio State with him. That's the biggest game. Plus, I'll get his takes on the Heisman Trophy winner, Travis Hunter. Kudos to Travis Hunter. And, of course, get his take on the other predictions for this week's college football playoff. I cannot wait. I don't. And also, I was driving Uber Sunday, and I ran into a lady. She is in the sports talk industry, Jenny Paul. Jenny Paul is going to talk about her book. She's a radio personality. She's got a book called The Yankee Princess. Her father was was the general manager of the New York Yankees in 1977. And I'm trying to get his name off here. Gabe Paul. Yeah, that's it. Gabe Paul, his daughter, Jenny Paul. Now, Gabe Paul's dead, of course, but Jenny Paul will be on the program January the 8th. I'll put that in later on. I hope that's Andre here. What's up, Patrick? Good to see you, man. Your Eagles are really playing well. Got a lot of good things to say about that Eagle team. I need to bring on Jamie Paggs, the Philly sports guy, and talk about this Eagle team. It looks like they are really in good position right now if they can just stay out of each other's way and keep A.J. Brown happy, which is a tall task. But Jenny Paul, the daughter of Gabe Paul, will be on the program January the 8th. That's on a Wednesday, folks. That's in a few weeks from now. Patrick said the most complete team in the NFL. Yes, it is. It is. I believe so too. But I just want to announce that I will set up this show preview or like on Facebook or whatever. And it'll do an announcement that I'll be interviewing Jenny Paul, the daughter of former Yankee general manager, the 77 Yankees. I want to say that was a team that had Mr. October Reggie Jackson on it, if I'm not mistaken. So anyways, stand by for that. That's going to be a really, really good interview coming up here in a few weeks. I know it's, I know it's not even Christmas yet, and I'm talking about January interviews. But just want to say it. Met this lady in an Uber ride the other day, and I told her I'd do a live stream show, and she was interested in coming on. I told her about my man Mike Richmond, who's got the George Allen book, which I have not started. I need to knock this out over the holidays. So, anyways, got a great week, and of course, this Friday, don't let me forget, the Mad New Yorker will be back here this Friday. So, Friday, Mad New Yorker. Thursday, Kevin Carroll. Kevin Carroll will be talking the college playoff. We'll really get into that Ohio State-Tennessee game. And, of course, Wednesday, Keith Engel. Keith Engel will be on the program. So, a lot going on this week. Next week's going to be a little bit slower because of the holidays. Not going to have a show Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Next week, I'll be back on Thursday. So, giving you an outlook there. And then, of course, hopefully Mad New Yorker will be back on next Friday as well. So just giving you a rundown. And, of course, the days that I'm not on, you'll get to see a replay of the program to find something that you may have missed prior to that. Okay? All righty then. So what did we learn? I said, that Detroit game is going to be the best game of the week. The over and under was, we were talking about this Friday, myself and Mad New Yorker, at how high that over and under was, 54.5. And of course, they totally blasted through that, 46-42. That's 88 points scored in the Detroit, Detroit Buffalo Bills game. 48-42, 90 points, excuse me. Just gotta look back at my notes here. 90. And let me say this. I was going to get on here and totally trash Aaron Glenn. Before I really started looking into the amount. Aaron Glenn's the defensive coordinator. I've not been a big fan of Glenn in the past. They've gave up big plays. They seem out of position at time in the past. but they've also had a top 5 defense throughout this year. As of here lately, that has not been the case because they've had injuries after injuries after injuries. Then I started looking at these injury reports here. I gotta cut Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator, some slack. They've had guys to go down in this game particularly, and I just cannot let that go without being said. I wouldn't be doing my particular homework on this if so. For example, defensive tackle Al McNeil. These are guys who are injuries this season. These are guys on IR. Their best cornerback, Carlton Davis, is on the IR. Emmanuel Mosley's on the IR. Jalen Reeves-Maven's on the IR. Malcolm Rodriguez. These are the linebackers here. Derek Barnes on the IR. Marcus Davenport. That's another defensive lineman, IR. So you got guys falling over like nobody's business in Detroit. We all know about Aiden Hutchinson. That happened about a month ago, maybe 6 weeks. And they did trade for Zadarius Smith. They did get back DJ Ritter. There's still a chance for this team. There's still a chance. But when you got the middle of the field open like that, you got your best cornerback open up like that, your run defense is taking a hit. It's hard when you've got that many new bodies here. But I will say this, if you can protect, and they have been able to protect Goff. I know that Taylor Decker's been in and out all year long. That's the left tackle. That's the most important. You've got Penei Sewell. He's healthy. You can protect him and get pass rush on the other guys. I think they still have a chance. It's not like it's a total wash for the Lions, But, that being said, listen to if you listen to Dan Campbell, he makes a good point about a team that is what they win 11 games straight or something like that. That they get so used and so spoiled of winning that they kind of lost themselves. He's kind of saying maybe this was a blessing and this guy's losing this particular game here per se. And you see this a lot with teams. They get off to a really, really good start here. The last time this team lost was week 2 against Tampa, and they probably shouldn't have lost that game. They got too pass happy in that game. They should have beat Tampa. Now we find out Tampa's pretty good. Not a fraud by no means. I'll probably jump on Tampa tomorrow. But listen to him during a radio interview. Not a post game. It's a radio interview here for him, and this is from a local radio station here. Make sure I got this thing here. Let me double check here. I want to give these guys their proper. Want to give it their adage here, and I'm going to make sure I've got it on here. And I may not have it on here. Let me double check here. If not, we'll just go with it for what it is. But and the guy may have took the post down that I got this from. Let me go back here and find him here. But basically, he was just pretty motivational. Let's go ahead and just play it, okay? Dan Campbell today.
What happens is, you win 11 in a row, and you lose, and then the sky falls. And I hate to say it, but we're not going to be able to win 11 in a row again for the rest of this season. We're just not going to be able to do it. And, what happens is you get used to eating filet, and I'm talking to all of us. And, well, everything's good. Life's good, but you forgot what it was like when you had nothing and you ate your molded bread, and it was just fine. And it gave you everything you needed. And sometimes you got to get punched in the mouth and remember what it used to be like to really appreciate where you are. And we'll do that. And so we got bad taste in our mouth. We got kicked around the other day. We lost a few guys, and you know what? It's exactly what we needed. This is exactly what we needed. So we're going to bounce back. We're going to respond. We got guys that are about to have an unbelievable opportunity here, and we will play the game any way needed to win. We still got a good offense. We got plenty of defensive players. I can go rattle them off right now. We're going to put the best 11 on the field. We're going to freaking cut it loose. We're going to play with our special teams. And I don't give a crap if we got to win by 1 point for the rest of the year. That's what we're going to do. And I'm going to be happy about it. We come out of the game with 50 yards of total offense and we win by 1, you're going to see smiles on my face. I promise you. All right? If it's the other way defensively, we give up 700 yards and we win by 1 point, you're going to see a smile from my ear to ear. All right? I can promise you. So we're going to find a way and we're going to get it done.
Wow. That was from 97-1 Costa and Jansen here. I guess this is out of Detroit here. And, of course, they had to dropped a few F-bombs there. But I tell you what, that guy's authentic, man. That's a guy you run through a brick wall for. If you heard that in the locker room, that's probably dressed down. That's the next day. You know, I want to say that was either yesterday or this morning. I want to say probably this morning, excuse me. The Coastal and Jansen addressing their injuries and how they can overcome them, dropping a few F-bombs. Can you imagine how he talked to the team? Now, we didn't have that bite, the post-game bite like we always have for the handing out of the footballs, per se. But I will say this. I wouldn't totally count them out. I did note here, 2010, 13 players from that Packer team went on IR. A few starters. Not all of them were starters. They had a running back in there. I know they had some really good linebackers that went down on that team. Like this team. 2010, Green Bay Packers, and you watched them at the end, you just felt like that team is going to win the Super Bowl. I know they've got all these injuries, but Favre is hot, and Clay Matthews, this young linebacker, he's just I think a rookie or second-year guy. He's playing well. I know they had some other linebackers out, and man, they end up winning the Super Bowl. Remember, they beat the Steelers that year. This could be that team. But they do have best pass rusher, starting tackle out, starting cornerback out, 2 starting linebackers out. David Montgomery's out with the sprained MCL. They can get past Montgomery because they still got Gibbs there, and they still got that line. They can add a guy like a Clyde Edwards-Helaire from Kansas City. I think he was cut. So there's things that they can do. I kind of wish that they would push the trade deadline back to the end of the season, maybe like a game or so before the season ends, and let the players do that. I don't know why they put it in the middle of the season. There's no rhyme or reason for that, so they can possibly trade for other players for teams that are kind of rolled off. It would be good to do that because then you got the teams who don't have. Who've already, like, there's teams like the Titans, I want to say the Jaguars, they're eliminated from playoffs. You know, those teams have more of a shot of, they'd be more out to trade. So I don't know why the NFL don't do that, but they do. I don't know why they have it. They've pushed it back, and I appreciate it. They pushed it back to November 5th, which was election day this past year, and it was a big one. And I was telling everybody, I know it's election going on, but I'm going to do a show because I knew that trade deadline was coming up. And, but anyways, and listen, as far as Josh Allen, 25 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 11 rushing touchdowns. Yes, he's playing at an MVP level. That there's no doubt in my mind. I've always got on to criticized Lamar Jackson over the years about all his running. And I was looking at Lamar Jackson's only got 3 rushing touchdowns this year. And Josh Allen has 11. 25 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 11 rushing touchdowns. Yeah, he's playing at an MVP level. But Sean McDermott's still the issue for this team. He only had 3 more rushing attempts, talking Josh Allen now, than James Cook, the leading running back. James Cook had 3 more rushing attempts than the quarterback. And that's what I like the fact about Lamar. He's letting Derrick Henry feed him the rock, feed these other players the rock. Hit Justice Hill in the flat there, the speedy running back there, So, yeah, they won. It was a big win. The Detroit team is falling apart defensively. I get all that. But I look back here and I think to myself, well, the Bills still look the same to me. Yeah, they do run the ball more. Yeah, Allen, one of the least sacked quarterbacks in the league. The line's doing a better job, but you can still run on them. They've also gave up, 40? Yes, Josh Allen's playing like Superman. But look at the points they're giving up. Over 80 points in the last 2 games. Yeah, they're going to possibly get Matt Milano back. It's December. He can be back any week now. Maybe he's back this week. I don't know. But I just look at it and I think they're still going to lose in the playoffs. Maybe he plays out of this world and they win. I just don't trust McDermott at this point. He's a defensive-minded head coach. The defense is still struggling. We get a sharp offensive-minded head coach, and I would try to get a better coordinator to help them out with that side of the ball. And I do like the fact that they've gotten young around him. I like Khalif Shakur, that Mac Hollins guy, James Cook, Ray Davis at running back, Kincaid, tight end, even Keon Coleman. I like that. But I think McDermott's still going to cost this team. It was a great win. He's 50 more fantasy points there for Allen. But it's just, it is what it is. And I'm not sure. I'm just not going to be that high on the Bills this year, because I don't know what they're going to do in the playoffs. And at this point, he's probably going to win. He's probably going to win the MVP. Although Lamar Jackson's having a really good year, and this is a regular season award, and you have to let the season finish out. I know they've struggled, at times, the Ravens, but I'll talk about them here in a second. They come off that late bye, and they played just as good as I thought they would. They are what I thought they were, like Dennis Green was said. They played as good as I thought they would, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. But, I just, not good. Good, impressive, impressed with Josh Allen, not so impressed with the way this game was called and the fact that James Cook only had 3 more carries than Allen. Got to keep Allen's running down. You just got to do that. I know he's winning, but it's just something that they're just never going to really address in Buffalo, if you ask me. Okay. All righty then. Let's see. Okay, let's pivot back here. Like I said, I was just talking about Lamar Jackson. And I know it's the Giants, and they're picking up there. They're picking second now. The Raiders are picking first. The Raiders, with their loss there against Atlanta, they're picking first. Giants will be picking second. But Lamar Jackson, 5 Excuse me. Ugh, sorry. Ugh. Boy, this cold will really slow you down, won't it? Lamar Jackson, folks, 5 touchdowns, 4 incompletions. 5 passing touchdowns, 4 incompletions against, yes, a lowly Giants team, as the Steelers lost to the Eagles, and they climb 1 game closer to the Steelers. They could possibly be tied with the Steelers come Saturday. Come Saturday, these two teams match up. And right now, I would actually lean Ravens, even though in the past I would pick the Steelers almost every single time against this Raven team. It's going to be interesting to see what Hard Knocks looks like, which covers the AFC North. This week leading up to that game, the Steelers coming off a loss, the Ravens come off a win, where Lamar was practically almost perfect, coming off a bye week. You know, I like teams that play well off bye weeks. It tells you about their coaching. You know, when you get a team that's slow off of a bye week, looks like their timing's off. It looks like they're making a lot of mistakes out there. Players aren't lined up right or whatnot. But that's not the case. Ravens look sharp as a tack. They were really heavily favored coming into this game. The Giants still pretty good against the run there and still got a pretty good pass rush. They're off with a quarterback. They're going through to it, their third string quarterback. We don't know who their quarterback is from 1 minute to the next, but they're still pretty good. This was a 16.5-point spread. At one time, of course, we know they won 21 points or so, and actually covered that spread here. But it is good, as good as Lamar Jackson's played, the fact that this Ravens team, that run defense is what it is, now that the weather has changed, a lot of these big games are being out. They're going to be outside, and you look at what Patrick Mahomes, he's got an ankle injury here. It's supposed to be a mild high ankle sprain. You look at that, Patrick Mahomes, okay. Then you look at the fact that the Ravens coming off this late bye week. You look at the Derrick Henry, the way he's running the ball here. Also look at the fact that the Bills, they've already beat up on. I know the Bills had some injuries the last time they played. I don't know if the Bills are not that much better defensively. That's my issue with the Bills. I don't know if they're going to be that much better defensively come playoff time. You start eliminating that, and the Steelers a little banged up. Now, the Steelers, if they meet again in the playoffs, you want to avoid the Steelers in the playoffs if you're Baltimore. We know about that. But this is a good path possibly for the Ravens to get back to the Super Bowl. That's what I'm saying. They were in the AFC Championship game last year. They did win a game. I don't see Houston as being a threat. Now, of course, we still got 3 weeks to go. I'm just projecting forward, looking at their schedule, that this team can go 11-6, run the table, and go 11-6. And you want to be playing like this at the right time, you know. It's a potential good path. If they played Kansas City this weekend with that bum ankle for Mahomes, I think I might go the other direction. Look how close these games have been. Well, the one that was played at the beginning of the year, this year in week 1, the Chiefs there, that Chiefs team, that offensive line is just not, although Pro Football Focus has them at 8th, I just don't believe that. I think that their left tackle is not what it was 2 years ago when Patrick Mahomes won that Super Bowl. When they won the Super Bowl, we had a high ankle sprain. Just saying. So kudos to them. I think the Ravens playing as advertised, about as sharp as they can be. He's spreading the ball, getting it to tight ends, getting it back to Mark Andrews again, I noticed, getting it to his wide receivers. He's not hugging on to one player. It's just not Mark Andrews. It's just not Isaiah Likely. It's just not Zay Flowers. He's a true number one receiver. I think he's grown. A lot of people's wrote him off because they played so bad in that Kansas City game, and I know the defense gave up a lot of big plays this year, and that still may be the case. But mind you, folks, the Tampa Bay Bucks won a Super Bowl, and they were bad on the back half of their defense back in 2020. They were bad on the back, but they had a good front seven, and that's what this Raven team has. Okay? Okay, yes. Now, the Eagles. Yes. The Eagles. The Eagles, Steelers, Jalen Hurts. I was just talking to Patrick at the beginning of the program. Man, that just did not bother the talk about A.J. Brown, but from Brandon Graham. I think Brandon Graham's out for the season, but he's on Philadelphia Sports Talk Radio talking about the adulation. I don't know. Beef is a strong word. Beef is a strong word. The disagreement between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. I've said this before. Brown has some diva-like tendencies. They're not Stephon Diggs bad, but he does want the football a lot. We know about his past. Even if you're running the score up and running the ball well, he still wants the football. That's typical of these wide receivers, a lot of these diva-like wide receivers. But long story short, it just did not affect Jalen Hurts whatsoever. And Philly's it's a pressure cooker up there, man. It is a pressure cooker up there. You know, they fired Doug Peterson. He won the Super Bowl. Went to the Super Bowl with Andy Reid. Things got a little stale. Did him a favor. He needed a change of scenery, but they fired him, moved off him. And you look at Nick Sirianni in the Super Bowl a couple years ago, on the hot seat this year because of the way the team looked towards the end of the season last year and that awful loss to Tampa, per se. They did move off their defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator. Turned out to be two big home runs. Keelan Moore not being so pass happy, leaning on a guy like a Saquon Barkley. But this particular game, 19 receptions by Devontae Smith and combined with A.J. Brown, both getting touchdowns against a pretty staunch Pittsburgh defense. It's a playmaking defense at that, you know, and really, man, just very impressed there. Jalen Hurts, 1 rushing touchdown, 2 passing. His day kind of got overlooked the way that Josh Allen played Sunday against Detroit. And, of course, Lamar played against the lowly Giants there. But Hurts, none of that seemed to faze him. This is the perfect offense for him. We're seeing it against better and better teams. Real impressed the way he played against the Ravens a few weeks back. Real impressed the way he played against the Steelers. I thought this game would be about 27-20 Eagles. It was 27-13. A little bit more impressed with that Eagles. And, of course, that Eagle defense, it's just got layer after layer of depth in it right now. And I'll tell you what, I don't know if there's a better general manager in football than Howie Roseman is right now with the Philadelphia Eagles. You know, I said this back in let's go back to draft night. And Quentin Mitchell and Cooper DeJean were both highly regarded cornerbacks, both considered first-round picks. Just really high on both of these players. And somehow the Eagles manipulate, and this is all Howie Roseman, finds a way, even though they're pretty good at corner, but they're a little long in tooth. Darius Slay's a little long in tooth. Bradbury kind of slipping there. Bradbury had his moments, but he's slipping. And, of course, they find a way to get both of these guys. And I think DeJean slipped to the second round. They got DeJean, who had a great open field tackle going back to that Raven game a few weeks ago against Derrick Henry. That's like a highlight of his season out of Iowa. And they got Quentin Mitchell there, arguably, from all the sites I read, the best cornerback, the best rated cornerback in the whole draft there. And both of them playing pretty well, not to mention the fact that they made the trade a year ago, going back 2 years with the Saints and getting Jalen Carter, who's just killing it at the defensive tackle position there. You know, there's a ton of those Georgia players actually living up to their, you know, putting him alongside with Jared Davis, of course, and Kobe Dean and everybody. Not really a weak link. You just adding that layer of depth there. And, of course, Lane Johnson, even at his later age, playing at a really high level there at the right tackle position. So, very impressed there with what they did. Really, really selling right now on a high level, if you ask me. Okay? And on that note, folks, I think I'm going to do my Power 5. I think I'm going to do it. Like I said, I did the Power 5 this morning, rushed through it. Then I started looking at some things, and I thought, wait a minute, I got to dot this I. I've got to cross this T, because this is not correct here. Okay, so let me go back here to the Power 5 and make sure. Okay, number 5. Minnesota Vikings got the win last night. Talked about Sam Darnold. May bring him up again. I think I talked about him last week. Sam Darnold is the team's 10-2, 28 touchdowns. I want to say 10 interceptions here. Guys playing. You don't want to use the word comeback for a player like Sam Darnold, who never did break out, was basically considered, he was the number 2 pick, I want to say, by the Jets. Let's go back to 2018 when we all thought that both Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield were both going to be bust at one point. You know, neither with the team that drafted them, Cleveland Browns or the New York Jets, and both of them having great years. Have great games this past weekend, Baker Mayfield. I was wrong about that. But listen, the Vikings, they're 12-2. Man, who would have thought, you know? I really thought once they lost those 2 straight that they were going to get figured out, that Sam Darnold was going to be the reckless player that bounced around. Would he go to Carolina afterwards? And I think he went to San Francisco, and now O'Connell here, who was just he's the odds-on favorite to win Coach of the Year, by the way. Remember, J.J. McCarthy was supposed to take over at some point this year, and of course, we know he got that knee injury, and he got that knee injury in training camp. But you know, 12-2 just happened to be in the best division in football. 4 points allowed. 4th in points allowed in this division here. Not really that much weakness on this team. Probably at the cornerback position, I would say, is their biggest weakness. They gave away let their best pass rusher, Danielle Hunter, walk. Remember, he's with Houston now. And they're still really playing well at the defensive position. Sam Darnold, I made a note, he reminds me of Rich Gannon somewhat. Rich Gannon looked like a guy that was just kind of a journeyman quarterback. Remember, he came over from Kansas City. We're talking 20-something years ago. And went to the Raiders and broke out and had, with John Gruden, of course, an MVP season in 2002. They ended up going to the Super Bowl. Now, the Super Bowl was a disaster, but Gannon had a few really good years there with the Raiders. This kind of feels like that a little bit, you know? A breakout season. a breakout season. 28 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Darnold's third in QB rating at a 108. So I've got them up to number 5. I've got the Minnesota Vikings at number 5. And let me go back here and check and see what did I put at number 4 here, folks. Doing things really, really out of whack here. Okay, Kansas City. Now, you say, well, man, you're really bouncing Kansas City around here. Listen, folks, the Chiefs, I've got so many notes here. I'm trying to find out where. Part 3. Okay. Yes, I was concerned about Kansas City because of this ankle injury. This ankle injury. We know that they're 14th in yards offensively. They're 12th in points scored in the NFL. He has a mild high ankle sprain. A high ankle sprain is a high ankle sprain. It's normally, Patrick Mahomes, is a 4 to 6 weeks injury. How come everybody gets hurt against Cleveland? I don't know what it is about Cleveland. Maybe it's Myles Garrett or whatnot. But anyways, it's pretty rough. It kind of reminded me, the injury kind of reminded me of the other ankle injury he had, where they went to the Super Bowl and won it, and that was against Jacksonville, you know. But that being said, Pro Football Focus still has their offensive line ranked 8th, you know. You still got to look at their defense. It's always hovering around that top 10 range where they're in points, yards allowed, and whatnot. And you still got the Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes combo. They're still the number 1 seed. They're still the favorite to get that number 1 seed, which, you know, he was a full participant today. So I pulled him back. I put him back to 4. I started not to even put them in the top 5. But you started saying everything out loud. Yeah, they're a little weaker at left tackle and right tackle, but it's a snapshot right now. Carson Wentz, remember, not a bad quarterback. He just has some – he probably a decent quarterback. Nobody's talking about him because he's fell off the radar. But remember, he's had a whole off season there with Andy Reid. Who's to say that they couldn't beat Houston Texans this weekend? If now, of course, now we're seeing that Mahomes that's one tough son of a gun. Mahomes wants to be the greatest of all time. But either way, I got this team at 4 right now. Dropped them down, but I'm not going to drop them out for obvious reasons. Okay? Now let's see where I have here. Let's see. Number 3. I know a lot of people's going to look at this and I'm like, you kind of high on these dudes. But hey, listen, Baltimore could be much higher than 3. Okay. The Ravens look as good as I thought they would look after this bye week. I mentioned Lamar Jackson's more touchdowns and incompletions Sunday. Top yards offensively. They're the top offense in the NFL. They're the top yardage team in the NFL. I know that's Detroit, Baltimore. Right now, it's Baltimore right now. And I like the fact that they got Justice Hill there. They just don't lean on Derrick Henry. I know Henry slowed down a little bit. I think they may just be saving Henry. They might be saving him. And again, I knew that Giants got a pretty good run D. Giants ain't totally bad. They just had a lot of injuries, you know, the Daniel Jones stuff. But remember, their left tackle went out early in the season. But they're pretty good run D and they're pretty good pass rush. But this team, I mean, they could best yardage offense and their number 1 run defense. They still got a good front set. And I'm telling you, this could be their year. A lot of teams that get hungry, they go to AFC championship games, they come back that much more hungry, but they don't quite have the good year they did the year they had the high seed. For example, let's go back some years, some of you older fans. Let's go back to 2004. Trying to think who it was. I want to say, 2004. Ben Roethlisberger's rookie year. Okay, Ben Roethlisberger's rookie year. The Steelers were like 15-1. They beat the Patriots that year down in Pittsburgh. They got to the AFC championship game. They were the 1 seed. They played very good team, by the way, but they played that Patriot team again. The Patriots beat them, right? Patriots went on. I think they beat the Eagles. Sorry to Patrick, bring up the bad wound there. Beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl. The next year, they were a wild card team. They were a wild card team. They made it to the AFC championship game as a 1 seed. They came in second year as a wild card team. And, of course, we know what happened. They won the Super Bowl that year. They beat the Seattle Seahawks. So could this be the Ravens this year? Could this be the Ravens this year? I got them, like I said, I got the Ravens at number 3. They're up to number 3, okay? All righty then. Let's go back here and look at this thing. So, so far, Minnesota at 5. Minnesota, Kansas City, and Baltimore. And, of course, number 2 here is Philadelphia. Now, or not Philadelphia, excuse me. I had Detroit at 5, excuse me. Or Detroit at 4. Let's talk about Detroit. Boy, I'm off tonight. I'm just now the Lions, folks. This Lion team, they still they can protect the quarterback. Okay, they still can get after your quarterback. They're just bad in the middle of the field. Well, linebackers. Well, Cincinnati got to the Super Bowl being bad in the middle of the field. So. They still have the most points scored. They're second in yards. Like I said before, Aaron Glenn, can't really throw him totally under the bus here. Because of their defensive injuries, there's still a chance. I talked about Green Bay earlier. Green Bay back in 2010, they had 13 guys on IR. A lot of them were starters. So there is a chance, the way Jim Carrey would say, in the movie Dumb and Dumber. All right. Now, probably got them a little rated too high. Probably should have Baltimore ahead of them, But obviously, the Eagles are now the new number 1 team. They're playing great at the right time. 10-point win against a good Steeler team. They got the best rushing average in the NFL, 186.2 yards a game. Best total defense in the league in yards. Maybe the deepest defensive personnel in the league. Again, this is the best version of the Philadelphia Eagles I've seen so far, despite the issues with A.J. Brown, according to Brandon Graham. And Nick Sirianni is he is good as long as he lets those coordinators do their job, And, of course, Vic Fangio doing a spectacular job as a defensive coordinator. And, of course, Keelan Moore doing his job as an offensive coordinator, not being pass happy. So, definitely got the Eagles are the number 1 team in the league. I probably shouldn't have Detroit at 2. I probably should have them more at 3. Baltimore probably should be at 2, but I got Baltimore at 3. And, of course, 4, Kansas City. And, of course, 5, the Minnesota Vikings here. Everybody's a little banged up right this time of year. Okay? And, of course, you say, what about Green Bay? What about Green Bay? Their honorable mention. Green Bay's honorable mention. Not really. There's just something off about Houston right now. They're not quite as good as they were last year. A lot, you want to say it's a sophomore slump. They're being figured out. I don't know. They're going to win in the AFC South. They still got a few things to work out. Joe Mixon's starting to show his age. Injuries are starting to mount and whatnot. The Steelers having a decent year, but they still got some holes on the back end of their defense. They've got some injuries on defense as well. I don't know if T.J. Watt's going to play this week. Offensively, they're better, but they still may be limited overall, okay? And, of course, I got Bills in there, of course. Bills defense, listen, they gave up 80 points in the last 2 games. I mean, like I said, I think Baltimore could beat the Bills right now, you know? And I know Josh Allen is having an MVP season, but that doesn't always necessarily mean Super Bowl win. Ask Matt Ryan. Ask Lamar Jackson twice, okay? It is what it is. Quite frankly, the last time a player won the MVP in a regular season and won the Super Bowl was Patrick Mahomes. But before that, it goes all the way back to Kurt Warner in 1999. So that's why I'm just not too high on the Bills. Hope I'm wrong for the sake of my friend John Rostano out of Niagara Falls area. Now, John's a big Bears fan. He's not a Bills fan, but he lives up in that area. So, anywho, honorable mention, man. Honorable mention, even coming off of a win. Okay. Titans bench Will Levis today. Levis 3 more interceptions and a fumble against the Bengals. This guy's got 12 touchdowns, 12 picks, but he has 8 fumbles. Yes, that's correct. 8 fumbles for Will Levis here. Had a sound bite from Ryan Callahan saying, hey, listen, man, the guy, some of them maybe not his fault, but the bounce off another guy's hand. The truth of the matter is he's usually late on his passes when that happens. He hangs on to the ball too long. He doesn't have pocket awareness. He can't feel that pass rush. Pro Football Focus has their offensive line at 28 last I checked. But truth of the matter is, if you watch it, Levis is just gun shy out there and he's rushing the ball and all these fumbles. And you look at a guy like a Drake May. I know that the Patriots are bad, but he seems to have pocket awareness up there in New England. You know, I'm going to ask Keith Engel about him tomorrow. But I think that this could be the last straw for Will Levis. I'm not going to guarantee it. Because somebody may step in and say, hey, look, Brian Callahan, they may be on or whatever. Let's still give this guy a chance. This is the second time. First time they wanted to put it more on the shoulder injury. Now he's just flat out not going to play him well. And it's more of a clear-cut bench here for him. So people ask me, I know Andre, if you're listening out there, have asked me last few days about this. You've asked me about it. Titans are currently picking 6 in the draft. They have a shot at the 1, but I doubt it. I think Schroeder Sanders will probably go to the Raiders at 2, possibly 1. I think Cam Ward will probably go to the Giants at 2, possibly 1 from Miami. And a team like Tennessee, who's going to be in the quarterback, either required maybe a Sam Darnold. If Minnesota even lets a guy walk out of the door, they may franchise him. Okay? they're going to be picking anywhere from 4 to 7, maybe 8 with their luck, you know. And I saw this screenshot here. From this guy with ESPN here, and I'm trying to get his name if I can find it. I always think I'm never going to have enough, and I'm getting pretty close to time called here. Jordan Davenport covers the Titans for ESPN, says, interesting ESPN college football analysis. Trevor Matera says he feels like the Titans offensive line, J.C. Latham, who's playing pretty well, will be a good left tackle, but even better right tackle. He said Matras would be considering switching Latham to right tackle and selecting Kevin Banks or Will Campbell. These are two pretty high guys. I think Banks is out of Texas and Campbell's out of LSU. Those are all 2 tackles here. That's exactly what they need to do. They do not need this Arizona. There's a guy at the University of Arizona. Everybody's high on their wide receiver. They don't need that. My point is, Titans will probably get one of those guys at tackle. I think those 2 quarterbacks will be off the board. I was reading about Jalen Monroe. He got Lamar Jackson like ceiling, if you ask me. I know he kind of fell off second half of this season. He's worth Draft Buzz has him down at around the 50th overall prospect, this website. And that seems about right, you know. That seems about right. At one time, he seemed like a first rounder, but he's shown some inconsistencies. But a guy like him, if Tennessee can maybe sign a Mason Rudolph. Now, this is depends on what they find up. I'm speculating at this point. But as one suggestion would be give another year to Mason Rudolph, let him get another year in the system, be patient with Jalen Monroe, draft him in the second round. You'd be picking around 39th to 40th, something like that. Bring him in here. Let him ease into this. A lot more humble player than a Will Levis. Very strong arm, much more quicker, better at picking up on the blitz here, and much better pocket awareness. He needs more touch on the football. I think he could possibly be an option for Tennessee in the second round. As of today, now it's just December 17th. There's 3 more games to go. A lot of these teams play each other. Tennessee's got to play Jacksonville. Maybe they can jump ahead of them by losing that game. You just never know. You never know. Maybe New England wins in one of these games, although they play Buffalo this week. I think New England and the Jets play one more time. So one of them's got to lose, okay? So it's a possibility. It's a possibility Tennessee can jump up, but that's if Tennessee doesn't acquire a guy, or maybe they go somewhere else in the free agency market. I don't know. Maybe they get a guy like a Kirk Cousins. I hope they don't, because it looks like Cousins may be washed up. But Jalen Monroe's a guy that I would not totally write off. I think he's a guy that takes some big steps. I know he had some bad games, but he's also had some great games. And your job, give him protection, give him a good running game. Brian Callahan, I don't know. That may work. That's food for thought, folks. That is definitely food for thought. Jalen Monroe. Of course, maybe there may be another quarterback that arises between now and the end of this bowl season, and of course throughout all these workouts that scouts may like. Okay, so I know that's a big story there. A lot of people talking about it, especially around town, and of course some of the national reporters are actually talking about the Titans, and I noticed some personalities really like Brian Callahan. So anyways, that's something positive about a 3-10 team or whatever. 3-10, 3-11. I don't know. I can't keep up. If you folks like the show, share the show. I'll be back here tomorrow with Keith Engel talking about those playoffs and getting his take on Drake May and whatnot. So anyways, I'll see you tomorrow, folks. Same time, same place, here on the Real Sports Scope.
Bye.